tray bites my palms as I step into the audience hall, keeping the goblet from shivering. Incense crawls like oil through my nose. The governor sits above, all filigree and shadow, ringed by quiet men and louder machines. My tongue is bright with copper from the tasting prick. I hold the cup level, eyes down, counting steps, and his gaze presses like a hand between my shoulder blades. By third chime of morning, the lamps burn thin and the day knots itself, a rope thrown narrow around the throat of every movement. It begins with the bowl. I lift it from the warming stone, steam dampening my eyelashes, and the steward stamps the rim with the brass seal. I press the ladle to my own lips first. 3 seconds, throat closed, wait for the bitter that means alkaloids, the sweet that means oils, the bloom of metal that means the kitchens have failed again. I swallow a little. It scratches, but there is no crawl in the teeth, or no spray of light behind the eyes, no sudden cold in my guts. I nod. The steward makes a line on his slate, thin and neat, as if he were writing on my skin. The corridor is a spine of stone with glass eyes. Through each I see the city dropping away. Plaza, stacked domes, the pits breathing smoke like prayers. We bring trays past guards who do not look at us and cherub things that do, their waxen faces wet from the humidity. Yet when we pass the petitioner's arch, there is a smell like rain that has forgotten water. Their knees make a sound on the steps. I do not look at their hands. I keep the bowl level and steady, and my breath is the metronome of my legs. In the waiting alcove, the governor's clerks fold sound into squares and tuck it into the wall. They smell of old ink and medicated fat. When the doors part, I do not think about the way light changes. I do not think about the floor that is too polished to be trusted. And I think about the bowl, hands at chest height, elbows tight, look nowhere in particular. I have been trained to be a shade that pours. I have been told the rules, each soothing as a bruise. Do not touch the throne steps. Do not make a sound that could be mistaken for speech. Test what is given. Do not test his patience. He likes the first cup to be his father's metal, heavy as a filled lung. The handle is cold with a flourish of thorn leaves that bite if you grip too hard, and there is a catch inside the rim that fits the chip on his tooth. I have never asked how he lost it. When he inclines his head, I step close and pour. The wire-limbed choir sparks to life behind us and threads a linen of notes through the air. I hold my arm steady. My wrist sings with strain and makes a little noise I pretend I do not hear. His hand closes on the cup. My reflection in the side is a smear with eyes. He drinks, and in my mouth some echo of the sweetness unfolds, you thin as a page. Around us the hall breathes. Officials murmur, servo skulls click in their frames, the guard captain's jaw flexes under his scar like a thought trying to surface and not daring to. There is a case of documents brought forward by men whose shoes do not match. The governor does not sign yet. He drinks again and I step back. The metronome reset for the distance to the door. By fourth chime, the kitchens surge. You could swim across the heat, and the spitmaster barks numbers and the plenum above us licks them clean. The birds open and their cavities shine. A girl with cropped hair powders fat into ash and makes it look like winter. Everything has a texture, and each texture must be remembered. This is how I place myself in the day, by what catches on the ridges of my fingers. I taste, and sometimes I roll a flavor on the back of my teeth until my jaw aches, testing for the change that would mean I am not going home. Outside, and the gongs shape the hours. Inside, the steward paces. The riot rumors travel like drafts. Every time the door opens, someone's sleeve tells me ink is cheap and blood is cheaper. The governor orders a luncheon for 12. When he orders, the air around his mouth moves first as if it is tired of waiting for him. I carry the carved fruit arrangements while the palace shudders once, distant, like a mountain coughing. A guard tells me not to look afraid. I did not know I was looking at all. The luncheon is in the paneled room with the old gun ports smoothed shut. The carpets are recent. The men around the table have different kinds of eyes. Some are wet and small, others are dry and deep, others are ringed like bruises. A woman with a glass collar watches the curtains breathe. I lay the sprays of fruit and pretend not to hear anything that is not meant for me. I taste each dish before it leaves my tray. In the third course has a rind like a fingernail. I test it with the knife tip and release a perfume that tilts my head without permission. The steward marks me well for that. He appreciates when a servant corrects a dish with the neatness of a pen stroke. It is all rhythm until it is not. I have a task among them, to be the mouth that stands in place of a better mouth. When anything goes wrong, I become visible. The glass-collared woman laughs. A man with a godskin glove makes a sign over his tray, and the governor speaks lightly of numbers and debts, which to me sound like different kinds of weather. I sense the turn before it comes because I have learned his breathing patterns, the way he moves a single ring when bored and both when someone has flattered him. Now his fingers are still. He signals a fresh cup. The steward produces the high decanted red from the lockbox. It smells of iron and time. My spine loses its knots when I hold its neck. The weight is right. I pour for myself first into the taster's bell and take the swallow required. It blooms with a warm earthiness, a hint of cedar from the barrel. There is an aftertaste like the idea of spice. Nothing blooms that should not. I clear my throat into linen, press my thumb to the bell's base, and nod. We serve the table. The governor takes his with a small smile, which means someone has done something correctly enough to be ignored. The trouble is patient, and it waits until the salad and the syllables of praise are done. It waits while the governor explains to the man with the small wet eyes what a deficit feels like in the hand. It waits until the second pouring, when the governor raises his hand for attention without looking at anyone. "Taste again," he says. There are no extra words. There never are. His voice has sand under it. I taste. The wine is itself. The cup leaves my lips with a print that will dry clear. I glance at the steward, and he offers nothing with his eyes. I step to the dais and hold the cup as the governor's gaze moves past me to the ruined gun ports and then back down, very slow, as if what he is after might be hovering above my shoulder with a needle. "Taste," he says again. From my cup, this is not custom. The steward begins to make a shape with his mouth, swallows it. I step forward until my knees are nearly touching his, and he is a gold shore of details from this close. Tiny breaks of skin at his knuckles where rings rub, a scar high on his cheek that looks like a crack in plaster. He hands me the cup. I lift it. The rim presses the soft part of my lip. The smell is deeper now, as if the wine has found a second throat. I take the swallow. It arrives wrong. At first it is brightness, a fast white coin dropping through me. Then it is needles drawn along the arch of my palate. In my throat something opens and peels back, and there's heat, but it is not temperature, it is a shape being forced where it has no place. My tongue tries to leave my mouth. I hold the cup with both hands because my wrist has lost itself. I do not feel my knees. There are sounds. Not the kind we assign names to. They are the groan of a hinge that no one has oiled in a century. They are the memory of a scream left in a hallway that no longer exists. The edge of my vision blows apart and returns. I do not spit. I have never spit in this room, and I do not know how to start. The governor watches. He does not react, not like a man. If he is alarmed, it is a small bird beating itself to death behind his forehead where I cannot see it. He leans back just slightly, a calculation of distance. "Hold," he says. I hold. The cup is very heavy now. My hands tremble and the wine makes a small scarlet avalanche at the lip and comes up hard against the filigree. The cup shakes, then steadies. The air presses. I taste all things I have ever tasted and some that have not yet happened. My tongue swells or else I become smaller around it. I cannot tell. The steward barks steps, men move. A medica stud in green leather floats his hands over the arrayed dishes and snaps for the sample case. Somewhere a cherub thing begins to weep, or it is steam condensing. The glass-collared woman's pupils are too wide. The man with the wet eyes is not moving at all. He is a statue of a man who once breathed. I am breathing, and the intake hurts. The exhale is a wire saw. "Hold," the governor says again, as if I were a tilt of water and a spirit level. My vision tunnels. The room's edges smooth and darken. I steady and steady. The act becomes my bones, and then someone takes the cup from me, fearful of his own shaking. I sway. My body understands gravity as an accusation. I bite the inside of my cheek until I can feel something familiar, the sick salt of blood. Men pass the goblet back and forth with panicky care, and the governor gestures hard enough to peel skin. The medica confirms something or denies it. His head moves, but none of the words or sentences I understand. Whether the poison was real only in my mouth, I do not ever learn. What I know is the after. The after is a bruise in the shape of a halo around my throat. The after is a voice that has to crawl to be heard and is told not to make a scene. I am not to die in front of guests. This is the first rule I was not told, and it is the only one that matters. They close the luncheon. The governor does not rise. The servants move the trays away in a rhythm that would be smooth if not for my ragged coughing. I hold it in cloth and swallow it back, one knot at a time. The steward touches my shoulder once, where it will not show the touch as a tally mark. It means I have complicated his figures. The medica gives me a vial that looks like smoke trapped in glass and says swallow. It tastes of lime and old coins. It calms my throat enough that I can stand. My hands are not my hands, their knuckles do not belong to me. I walk to the door and do not fall. After the palace becomes a fort, doors harden, the maps come out like skins stretched across tables. The guard meets in ranks with the faces of men who know how far their palms have to open before anyone calls it treason. We of the kitchens are lined against a tile wall that has seen everything before us and will see it after. Names are asked, and we give them. There is a long pause after each, as if names were trapdoors that might not open properly. 2 are taken away. The girl with the powdered fat lifting like snow in her hair does not come back. I work. When a servant survives such a taste, he is prized and despised in the same breath. I watch men avoid where my shadow might brush their hems. I do not blame them. I cannot smell properly. Everything has a char at the back of it. And the steward hands me a new cloth to press against my neck and says we will finish the day. That phrase is a cleaver. It cuts the hours into pieces that can be eaten without gagging. The guests have gone. The hall breathes slower now, like a sleeping thing that could decide at any moment not to wake. The governor summons the private supper to his study with the wall of stars boxed in crystal. He does not comment on the events. He steps over them. His feet have learned where to find stairs in the dark. We bring him broth. We bring him softened bread. We bring him a thin wine that aspires to be water. I taste all of it each time, as if what happened earlier were a rumor that has to be checked by the mouth. There is a notch created in me by the cup and the instruction to hold. It is sore to the touch. My thoughts circle it like dogs do a scar. I steady, I pour. I stare to the left of his shoulder as trained. When he lifts his spoon, I feel a private lifting in my chest that has nothing to do with relief. He asks for the air to be changed. A servant opens the panel by the window and cranks to a winter setting. The room inhales for the first time since morning. The government stacked below us sends up its old breath and ugly prayers. I cough once. I catch myself. He looks at me then truly, and something like curiosity pushes one eyebrow almost its own width. "You did not fall," he says, and he is not praising. He is not assessing. It is a meteorological comment. "I did not," I reply, and the voice sounds as if it belongs to someone rolled in gravel. The governor gestures to the medica who hovers in a doorway that has never before held him. "Take his sample," he says. "Log the response. Keep him close tonight. There is a corridor in the palace for acts that wish to be forgotten. I walk it now, holding the wall not because I must, but because it seems right too. The way a man touches a headstone he is not sure bears his name yet." The medica straps the cuff to my arm and hums while the machine reads me. The cuff tightens until the hand goes numb that has carried cups all day. He nods to himself and draws blood into a vessel that sings a little, like glass does when it is very clean. He rubs a stimulant into my gums and tells me to swallow. The taste is pepper smashed against iron. He puts a small brand above my heart, cold first, then a light. Property. And I watch the smoke lift off my chest and think, that is me, traveling to a corner of the ceiling where I cannot be sent for. The night shifts. The bells go silent under curfew. Out past the palace grounds, something happens to the city that is none of my business. Yet I can feel it the way I can feel when a pot has reached a hard boil even from the other side of a wall. The governor is in the broadcast chamber now. I can tell by the static that lines the vents like stale bread. He will speak into cold metal, and the city will hear exactly what he is willing to let them. No more, no less. I bring the cup to that room, the guard's scent of oiled weapons and mint to hide the oiled weapons. The engineer flips dials like rosary beads. I stand to the left, out of the picture frame the city will see. I am their mouth's ghost. He chooses the simple cup. My burnt throat lurches at the thought of it. I taste. I count to 7 because 3 is too few and 10 will show doubt. I offer. He takes it without looking. He speaks. His voice is clean now, camera clean, confessor's whisper clean. He says the right words, he always does. The right words are numbers and punishments and the promise of bread. I do not listen to their shapes. I watch his mouth. The mouth makes the same sounds for mercy and knives. When it is done, there is a sound under our feet like 100,000 boots learning to march in the same direction again. The palace breathes out, and the guard who had the mint breath smiles at nothing and nothing smiles back. There is a moment alone with him later. The study is lit low. The stars behind glass have grown closer, as if they can smell the wine. The governor sits motionless, which means the room itself is adjusting to him. He extends his hand. I pass him the cup. He does not drink yet. He turns the cup once against the side of his index finger where a ringless mark rings his flesh. "What was it like?" he asks. "Are you still not looking at me?" The words float between us and hang. I think he is speaking to the cup. I do not have an answer that can cross the space between us. My mouth shapes what it can. Sharp, I manage. Then, wide. "Ah," he says, as if he has placed a figure in an adding column and it has fit with its fellows. He drinks. He passes the cup back, half gone. "Hold again," he says and turns to his papers. I hold. The palace shifts once more, a slow animal settling, and the riot outside has shortened into punitive fire. I can count its rhythm through the window panes. The medica comes and goes, adding little marks to his slate and once patting my shoulder the way a surgeon might pat a table. The steward returns, bringing with him a scent like blistered sugar. He makes orders for tomorrow as if tomorrow were a guaranteed meal. I taste the orders the way I taste wine, rolling them around the tongue of my mind, checking for sourness. Near 1 in the morning, and the door opens to a different light, a dirty yellow. The guard captain steps in with ash on his cuffs. He leans to the governor and murmurs. The governor makes the only movement he has made in hours. He stands. His height is not great, but when he rises, the room discovers new ways to be around him. "You," he says, not looking at me. "With me." We go along the dark corridor to the viewing arch. The glass there is old and imperfect. It bends the city below into a map of waiting teeth. Smoke pushes up against it, then is pulled away. The air stinks of electric rain. The governor gestures at the latch. "Open," he says. The medica moves, then stops at the captain's shake of his head. I am nearest. I set the cup on the sill. My hands make a ritual of the latch because ritual is the only way I know to keep the fingers from skittering off in panic. It lifts. The window opens a thin mouth. The city inhales. I flinch first because my throat remembers what it does not wish to, and the air is not poison, or if it is the kind of poison we call living. My eyes water. The governor watches my eyes, not the city. He is measuring me against an invisible rod. The medica coughs once and rearranges his feet in a way that promises nothing. "Enough," the governor says. The window closes. He nods without expression, having confirmed whatever he thought he needed to. He turns away. He has already forgotten me again. This is a kind of relief that feels like a hand removed from a wound. I pick up the cup. It is cold from the marble. The metal has left a pale ring that will be gone by morning when the maids polish the sill, singing the song they use to keep their breathing the same when parts of themselves try to run. We go back to the study. The governor returns to his papers with the aspect of a man who is about to knife them gently. I stand. The medica tucks a canvas tube under my skin with an efficiency that does not wait for consent. It draws a slow red vowel from me into a bottle. He smiles in the open, apologetic way of a man paid enough to be well-fed and not enough to be unafraid. He writes down what I am in symbols and wipes his pen. He does not meet my eyes. The hours drag their bellies. Lamps drown and are lit again. I am thirst and the means to end it, married for as long as this lasts. I count the quivers in his quill, in the tap of his ring on glass, the way he clears his throat precisely every hour as if to remind his own body who is in charge. I smell the city's new smoke and the old grease of the chair. I taste the air for laughter and for knives. I wait. When the 5th chime looms and dawn is still a rumor fighting its way up the well, the steward returns with a note as thin as a fishbone and the same tendency to stick. The governor reads it and does not allow the muscles of his face to think of moving, and he asks for the cup. I hand it to him. He drinks. He does not say hold, but I do anyway because it is what my hands have become. He finishes and sets the cup down with a sound like a coin balanced on its edge, thinking it might fall but deciding not to. He leans back and closes his eyes, still upright. It is not rest, it is a calculations nap, and the medica speaks to the captain in a hush that feels like blanket over a candle. I am not dismissed. I stand until my legs cease to be legs and become the shapes accustomed to pain. I roll my shoulders to prevent the seal of the brand from adhering to my shirt. I do not cough. The steam line in the wall hisses a little. The cup stem is cold in my hand. Down past the stone belly of the palace, something heavy arrives at a gate and makes the door's iron say a single syllable of surprise. Leaves somewhere remember to grow. The widow of the day takes her veil in her hand and peers into the room. The governor opens his eyes. The skin around them has sunk a fraction deeper. He tells me to bring the morning draft. I taste it. The herbs are green and bitter. My tongue folds into a shape it knows. I balance the tray, its slight slope singing along nerves that now count edges in their sleep. I cross the paneled room, precise. I move between chairs that shifted overnight as if they had dreams. I hold my breath 1 second longer than needed. When I hand him the cup, the gold of it catches a little light. My burned throat aches inside itself. On the far wall, the glass prison of stars is bruised purple by the coming day. He drinks. He does not look at me. I am the servant of his mouth. The heat from his fingers leaves a print through the cloth onto my skin. The cloth cools. The thread of blood drawn from me hangs dark. It from the bottle the medica has left uncorked at my side. The drop curls into itself heavy and does not fall.